There was a guy who actually this was a couple of weeks ago who on Twitter was telling me, "Oh yeah, I work for the firm that, Moms Demand hires whenever they have events." And I've had Moms Demand in every town confirm this to me separately from this. But you're hiring private security for you, but you don't want other individuals to have that access. I don't want to outsource the carrying of my firearm. And that seems really classist. If we're to have a discussion about legitimate class warfare, I would think the idea that only people wealthy enough to hire private security to protect them, that is incredibly classist because not everybody has Bloomberg money. Not everybody is in that
Mhm.
position.
You've probably loved the fact that I haven't really brought up guns with the gun lady, but let's do a little bit. Let's do a little bit on guns. I'm sure I'm not the first person to refer to you as the gun lady, right? That's the gun
No,
lady. It
no.
seems like
I, no.
they probably
Definitely.
have different adjectives before gun lady. There's probably some other adjectives they put in there.
And lady also is interchangeable.
Touche, touche. Okay, so we actually don't have to do a ton on it because you do so much time, you spend so much time talking about this stuff. But could we do like two or three things that you would love to explain to say anti-gun people, or two or three things that are like the memes that are just misunderstood about our laws or about the Second Amendment? Just a couple things that we could maybe clean up because I think you've had to spend a lot of time doing that sort of thing. There was that infamous CNN town hall after Parkland, and that was just a absolute fiasco. But maybe just a couple of the things that people should know that maybe they don't fully grasp or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people think that they're anti-gun, but they're not. They're really not. They are anti you having a gun because they don't trust themselves. And because they don't trust themselves and they don't have confidence in their ability to handle it, they project that onto other individuals. I always tell people if you're anti gun, then you really don't believe in you. I mean, you shouldn't believe in calling the police to come with their guns if you have a need where firepower is required as a solution. You shouldn't hire private security if you're anti gun. And I think that the idea of, well, I'm okay with guns so long as, private security has them or police have them. And there was a guy who actually this was a couple of weeks ago who on Twitter was telling me, "Oh yeah, I work for the firm that, Moms Demand hires whenever they have events." And I've had Moms Demand in every town confirm this to me separately from this. But you're hiring private security for you, but you don't want other individuals to have that access. I don't want to outsource the carrying of my firearm. And that seems really classist. If we're to have a discussion about legitimate class warfare, I would think the idea that only people wealthy enough to hire private security to protect them, that is incredibly classist because not everybody has Bloomberg money. Not everybody is in that
Mhm.
position. And so if you're truly anti-gun, then you would believe that for police and military and everything else. It's not a little bit of a position. That's one of the areas that I think is either or. And there are very few areas where there really isn't a lot of nuance. I think that an abridgment of a natural right is a denial of a right. So that would be that would be the first thing. And the second thing is that we've always had firearms and we have more laws now than we ever had. And we have seen only in terms of youth acting out in ways where they shouldn't and accessing firearms. Uh, I think that we are ignoring a really serious problem in our society with younger people, with young males particularly. And I know you've talked about this before on your program. A lot of people have discussed this. Jordan Peterson has talked about this. This is not getting enough attention. And I'm a boy mom, and I can see how easy it is for young men to go off the rails. And young women
Mhm.
can too, but there's something different with young men. And it's really easy for them to go off the rails. And it's almost, we're in a society that is, in my opinion, is hostile towards young men and all young men. And then it gets into varying degrees of severity depending on different boxes checked. And there all of that is just making a kindling for this problem. And until we deal with that, we're always going to have these problems, but you're not going to solve it by punishing law abiding people who are not the fuel for this problem. And then I guess the last thing, all of the laws that people keep saying that we need, we have. I mean, every single day,
that was the one I really wanted you to hit. Yeah.
yeah. Every single day I see somebody propose something and they're like, oh, well, we shouldn't have crazy people that can buy guns. So, okay, well, you can have someone committed, or you can, request. There's a whole way to go about this that preserves due process and protects innocent people. The red flag law terrifies me. And because it's a removal of due process. Red flag laws aren't even about guns. Red flag laws are a complete removal of due process. Guns are a variable in this situation. And when people realize that a firearm is a variable, and when you set this precedent of completely obliterating someone's ability to have that protection of due process, you are going to be able to accuse people and convict them before a trial on any number of things. This isn't just about guns. Think of an issue. And that to me is a terrifying beginning to that's a terrifying concept. And the fact that some are so incredibly lackadaisical about it, they're willing to remove that pin of our republic just to what? Because they think they're going to cancel out Second Amendment. That's a horrible way to do it.
Do you think that the real tough part is, well, you got to explain some truth. Okay, so that's tough. But the left generally is much better at the bumper sticker answers, and that is usually what people who aren't really thinking want to swallow. I mean, the easiest version of this is when I go to my local supermarket, there is a sign on the outside and has a gun and it's crossed out and says this is a gun-free zone. And if you're an average lefty, I think you walk in there and you're like, you feel good. You're like, oh, well, there'll be no guns in here. That's fantastic. And of course, all you have to do, like most things, unfortunately, that come out of the left these days, is think about it for about 6 to 8 seconds. And usually what you'll find is, oh, the bad guys, they probably don't pay attention to the stickers. But to do what you just did there takes a lot more time, takes more attention, takes more work and knowledge, rather than here's a sticker on the door. I feel good about it. Do you?
Yeah. Well, and the stickers don't create this like invisible force field. Like that Star Trek technology does not yet exist in our world. Or maybe it does,
Right.
and we just don't know about it. Maybe that's what those UFO videos are about. But
Yeah, exactly.
it doesn't prevent bad guys from coming into the area. They're not going to show up illegally in possession of a firearm. And I hate the phrase illegal guns. It's always illegal possession. They're not going to show up with an illegally possessed gun and go, you know what? I was going to go in here and do some really shady stuff. But this sticker,
The
no,
sticker. The
I'm
sticker.
totally on the sticker. That's never happened. And John Lott, who is a walking encyclopedia, he's done a lot of research on this. And I think, what is it, like the vast majority of mass casualty incidents, these mass shootings that have taken place from the period of 1953 till current time, have been in gun-free zones. And a lot of these gun-free zones, they don't even have armed security to protect or at least try to protect the people that they allow to come in. So that is like Linus's blanket, right? It's a safety blanket. This idea of a gun-free anything. Why don't you just put a sign out that says crime-free? What is some crime acceptable to you? Just put a crime-free zone sticker. It's never worked. We live in a reality where. And this is why I think freedom scares people. Some people cannot handle freedom because they don't, I think, trust themselves, and they don't trust other people. And there are going to be people that are going to abuse their freedom. And even after they have been caught and they have faced justice and they have been punished, they're still going to reoffend, and they're still going to choose to do bad things with their free will. And you're never going to be able to legislate evil away, because you cannot legislate that away in each individual. And the solution isn't to remove people's ability to defend themselves. The solution is to make criminals afraid with more severe penalties instead of, I mean, I could sit here and talk to you about our justice system on and on and on, because I think we have a massive problem and we have too many felonies, and, some of the nonviolent, it just, goes on and on. But for the serious offenders, there need to be penalties that really are adequate deterrents, and allow and quit punishing the law abiding for what these people choose to freely do. And I always tell people, there are no such thing as loopholes. It's like if someone is caught driving under the influence, they have their license suspended, and they continue going and driving a vehicle they get caught. That's not a loophole. They're breaking the law. That's a criminal act. So these loopholes that people keep talking about, there's criminal acts and non-criminal acts. There's no nuance there. The ATF has things covered to the point of being overcovered. So there's a criminal act and then there's a non-criminal act. There's no loophole.
But we always hear about the gun show loophole.
I know, the gun show loophole, because you always have gang members, Dave, going out there and buying super expensive collector's guns, and then going out and committing all of these crimes with collector's items. And even that is even private sales are regulated to a point, and the penalty on that is incredibly high. But that's not how, I mean, gangbangers, they've done surveys on this. People who are committing crimes are getting this off the black market. And if you think you're going to eradicate the black market, I mean, look how well the war on drugs has gone. You think that this is going to be any different? I mean, it's the same thing, different variable.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversation about the gun debate instead of nonstop yelling, check out our gun debate playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.